right, so the story, what's the front page of the Seattle Times? What's the official thing they say there in the Seattle Times? It's something like Cle Elum declares bankruptcy. So Sean Northrop from City Heights, he's the one they keep referring to in this. I've known Sean and I have known each other for about 2 years. His lovely wife Jen is here as well. So the story is that the city is saying, Sean, that they had some sort of an agreement with you and that you either ignored it, didn't want it, you wanted more money. That sort of they're making you out to be, well, you're this greedy developer, and they tried to come to some sort of terms and you ignored them. Is that the case in point?
I love how you elaborate everything.
It's
magnificent.
Sum it up, right? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I don't know if that's correct. I would just say that we were surprised that the city filed bankruptcy.
Okay.
We thought the mediation process was working, and I think there's still hope for it, but really, that's up to the city, so I couldn't really say what they're thinking.
Did you, in some way, go after their finances? Did you file to sort of close down their check rating ability?
Well, that was kind of two questions. Right?
I know.
So basically, what happened is we reached a point at which our lender said they had reached their level of patience, and so we made an agreement with the lender through the financial planning or the financial management of the project, such that if we had a deal at a certain point with the city, then they weren't going to take any action, and if we got past that date, then something else would happen. And so that something else is happening. We let the city know about that early in May, and so there shouldn't be any surprise about it. It's unfortunate. We think there's ample time to resolve it. And then, regarding the collections process, really nothing can happen until about the middle of July. Mm-hmm. So from our perspective, there's nothing imminent, no threat of, interruption of services or essential things or whatnot for the city.
Let's see if you can do this can you do it in 1 minute? Explain the entire history of what happened in 1 minute.
Well, Cle Elum's the epicenter of the world, so that's like the history of the world, right?
Well, I know, but try if you can.
Yeah. Now, are we going from? Wait, my clock didn't start yet.
Stop the clock 1 second.
Wait. One last question.
Yes.
Where am I starting from?
From the beginning of you saying, I'm buying this land, I want to build these homes up there, and then the city saying, okay, and then the process begins, and then we get into some trouble. You ready? See if you can do it in 1 minute.
In a minute. That's great.
Minute. Here we go.
That's great. There's a great opportunity for a public-private partnership that the city approached us about in early 2000s. We entered into that agreement ultimately in 2011. It's a 25-year-long agreement, I think. And then in 2019, we started the process of developing that. And the city didn't see eye to eye with how that was going. And ultimately, that ended up in litigation in which the court or the arbitrator found that the city was not following the agreement. At that point, we thought honorable parties would move forward and resolve their differences. The city continued to not follow that agreement, and the last resolution was trying to find some sort of financial mitigation.
When you took it to a court, congratulations, when you took it to a court and the judge looked at it, and the judge's ruling was they intentionally delayed you. There was intentional malice that they sort of threw roadblocks in your way to slow you down and maybe discourage you from going through with this. Because and I understand, I live in Cle Elum, there's a group of people, I don't know what the percentage is, that don't want any development. And there's another group who's like, hey, look, it's coming. We might as well have good development. Let's get good developers in here. It'll be a boom for society. It'll be good for our coffers. It'll just be good. Let's just have controlled growth if we can have it as best we have it. And then there's still the hard, set group. We don't want any development. We want to keep Cle Elum exactly as it is, right? So I think it seemed like the people that don't want any development went to the city council and said, hey, can you try to screw things up a little bit? Those are my words, not yours, right? Okay. And there's even video and there's audio of this sort of back and forth idea that some members that were elected at the city there, different parts of the city organization, kind of threw roadblocks at you. And the judge found this to be true as well. So then the judge comes up with, what was the total amount? $22 million?
Yes.
$22 million. And then said, if you don't pay it every single day, the interest on it will be how much?
12%.
12%. So it keeps accruing, going. At this point, I think they owe you $28 million?
26.4.
So what does it mean when a city goes bankrupt?
That's a good question. It's pretty rare. The first thing that happens, and let's caveat it with, I'm not a Chapter 9 expert. I know way more than I ever wished to possibly know about it.
Yeah.
But bankruptcy courts are there primarily to protect the creditor. So if anybody could file bankruptcy without any repercussions, then sadly a lot of people would file bankruptcy.
Yes.
So basically, when there's an issue, when a business, or in this case a municipality, has to ask for that assistance, and the bankruptcy court is there to basically govern that process and say, essentially, how do we ensure that the creditors get the best case treatment possible? So in more complex ones, private or municipal, there are many, many, many creditors. And so a lot of their work is basically balancing all those creditors' interests. Some are secured, some are unsecured. And so what they do is each creditor pool has to approve of the plan.
Okay.
And so that's a lot of the arguing back and forth. The unsecured creditors are arguing with the secured ones. But the goal is, so if the creditor groups in a majority don't approve of the plan, they can't get a plan ratified. So basically, in the city's case, the other element that happens is the court is looking out to try and preserve the city's core functions. So basically, and I'm probably oversimplifying this, but sewer, roads, water, administrative services. So from our perspective, the way we've understood it is, if they continue to go through the bankruptcy process, they're going to have to meet all these high bars to prove that. But during that process, they also won't have their core services interrupted.
So the city has an annual budget of $5 million. They owe you $20-some million. They're not going to be able to come up with this money in any way, and they can't be like, hey, let's go Bavarian like Leavenworth. Sell people $9 ice cream cones. So
how did you know that was the plan?
Cle Elum goes Bavarian? Yes.
Or $9 ice cream cones.
Yeah.